what are we doing in the gaming business? But yet we're probably one of the most successful gaming stocks on the Hong Kong exchange over the last 4 or 5 years. We've grown a company over the last 20-some years. We're a publicly listed company. But I'm going to talk not only about Naga, but give you a little bit where Cambodia is in its own journey in developing a gaming industry. Cambodia, just some fundamental facts in terms of GDP. You know, in the 90s, really, we saw a rapid growth because they started from such a low base, but it was double digit. You can see over the next few years, it's anywhere from 7 to 7.5% estimates of GDP growth between now and 2015. We operate in a low inflation environment. A little short history about Cambodia. Really, for about 30 years, if you think about it, much of the 60s, 70s, 80s, and even into the 90s, economically, Cambodia was shut down. Politically, it was safe to say they operate in a very politically unstable background during that period. I think many of you are familiar with the unfortunate genocide during the Pol Pot, Khmer Rouge period of the late 70s. There was a transitionary period with the Vietnamese government through the 80s. And finally, the Paris Peace Accords in the 90s led to UN-sponsored elections in 1993. From 1993 to the present time, there's been 5 national elections. And I've been involved with this particular company, Naga, since 2005. I've seen a tremendous change, not only in development of infrastructure, but also foreign direct investment coming into Cambodia, and a country that basically is dealing with all those fundamental issues of an emerging nation: employment, investment, improving their education, improving the infrastructure for healthcare. And with that, you know, you need political stability. You need to be able to bring confidence to the extent of attracting that outside investment and opportunity for new entries. What's driving a lot of growth specifically for gaming, and even more specifically Nagacore, is tourist arrivals. You can look at some of those numbers for the year 2000. 466,000 visitors to Cambodia. There were still a lot of perceptions about landmines being there, that really people were running around with M16s, and it was a quasi-military armed camp, etc. That's pretty much the way the Western world was reporting about Cambodia at that time. Not a reality, but certainly perceptions. If you look at the numbers for 2012 and 2014, the government of Cambodia has made tourism a priority, and really the people who have visited Cambodia have walked away as the best ambassadors for Cambodia. You find a very warm and welcoming people. You have a very warm and welcoming reception. And basically for Asians, whether you're coming from Korea, whether you're coming from China, Vietnam, it represents, when you leave the Phnom Penh or Siem Reap areas and you get into the Cambodian countryside, it represents a way of life and a cultural existence for Asians visiting from anywhere, and obviously the famed Khmer Empire, as well as the historical temples at Angkor Wat. All those things have generated interest, growth in tourism. And you'll find that not only have the numbers been double digit, this year, 2013, we project better than 4.2 million people. By 2020, the country is expected to have better than 7.5 million visitors to Cambodia. A lot of that is coming with infrastructure. Airport arrivals coming into both Phnom Penh and Siem Reap. Between 2010 and the current time, it's gone from like 183 to 340-some flights a week into Cambodia. Again, when you're talking about an emerging country, fundamentals, just roads across connecting up small areas, beach areas, border type of areas, they're all very relevant in terms of your investment, and in terms of your potential for success. But Cambodia, basically, in the gaming industry, tourist arrivals are driving a lot of that. You can see from this particular chart, between China, Korea, and Vietnam, they constitute better than 40-some. Our visitors from Laos, just in the last 2-3 years, have gone from about 3 to 9%. The other factor growing the gaming industry, in addition to tourism, is certainly marketing on our part and marketing on the part of others to grow a mass market. Okay, Cambodia today, in terms of the gaming industry, Cambodia really, post-1993 elections, already had a number of existing casinos along the Thai-Cambodian borders. As you can see, there's over 60 casinos in Cambodia, mainly in the area of Thailand and Vietnam. Many of you have probably heard of Bavet, Poi Pet. I note on there, there's no mature casino regulatory framework in Cambodia. And I will repeat that. There's no mature Cambodia regulatory framework. So when we walked in, going back to 1995, self-regulation becomes very important in terms of operating a casino, setting up international standards as far as your gaming operations, benchmarking against those in Las Vegas, Australia, different parts of the world becomes very critical for the success of the operation. If you look at those areas circled there, that represents where casinos are currently located. Phnom Penh is kind of on the center right. Nagakor has a 70-year license. We have a monopoly license within a 200-kilometer radius of Phnom Penh until 2035. Now, that's our license. If you look at some of the other licenses at the border, there is an application process for a license. Now, when you fill out that license, the Ministry of Economy and Finance will eventually approve that license, but it's only for a year. After that, there is a renewal of those licenses.